Hi, and welcome to Studio Vinden. Today I wanted to talk about something that has been bugging me for a while, and yesterday it kind of became apparent why it was bugging me. So, one of the great resources on YouTube for mixing and producing music is Colt Caparoon, a mix engineer based in Nashville. And he had something to say regarding Dolby Atmos yesterday, where Apple Music states that it will become a requirement to provide an Atmos mix for a song to be playlisted. Now, a big disclaimer, Cole Caparoon and I, we don't live in the same musical universe. He's a high-level mixer and I'm a small-level guy. So I'm not even sure if this will ever affect me in any way. Maybe I can carry on churning out stereo mixes and everyone will be happy. But at least it got me thinking. Dolby Atmos or spatial audio or immersive audio or one of these buzzwords, they all try to impose certain regulations on the room size and the number of speakers and the speaker configuration and maybe even speaker size and so on. And this is quite a big step from stereo, where everyone has this common knowledge of how to set up a room. If we add that there's at least some uncertainty regarding how this main stereo mix will sound versus the down mix of the Atmos mix, and which mix a user in a given scenario will experience, that at least makes me a bit apprehensible towards the whole spatial audio thing. The third thing is, of course, the cost. Changing your setup from stereo to Atmos will be a huge investment for most people, and might even force us to have to switch rooms. So I work on Reaper in Windows, and I have Dynaudio Lead 48s as my monitors. And given that I want to expand that to an Atmos rig, I would have to buy the Dolby Atmos render software. I would have to run it on a Mac. So a Mac computer might be $1,000 US. The Atmos render software would cost me $300 US, and buying a minimum of, say, 7 or 8 Dynaudio lead speakers would cost me around $3,000 to $4,000 US. I also would have to find a way to transport the audio from my main Windows computer to the Mac via Dante or Madi or something like that. I'm not even sure what that would cost, but surely that kind of investment would run upwards of $5,000. So that, of course, begs the question, is it even worth considering for a mix engineer at my level? Will Atmos even become a delivery format for me? So all of this talk about regulations and cost and rules being imposed on music production really bummed me out. And I went to bed and I slept and I woke up the next morning and I just was in a completely different mood. I was giddy and excited because I suddenly realized that none of this is to be taken for granted. Why not do the opposite? Avoid the regulations or these things that might at least be imposed on music production as we know it. And at the same time, part of the excitement, I think, is that Atmos sounds really cool. I haven't heard it myself, but I've heard so many stories of how amazing it is. And so I just want to try it. So what I want to do is try to build an Atmos rig on the cheap. So maybe $1,000 Atmos upgrade to my specific situation. And suddenly the perspective changed totally. So I went from being really bummed out and wondering if music production would even be fun anymore, to being really excited about trying Atmos and trying spatial audio and doing it on my terms within my context. So I've done just a bit of research and come up with a strategy which means that I can continue using Reaper as my main DAW, and then upgrade an old Cubase license I have to the latest Cubase 12 Pro, which actually has native Atmos rendering. And that would only cost me about $100. But the big cost will always be monitoring, I think. And seeing a lot of people talk about Atmos during the last couple of years, it seems like it's a pretty valid strategy to do the stereo mix first and get your sounds in that environment, and then stem out the tracks and basically do a panning exercise as the Atmos mix. I'm not sure if that's perfectly valid, but at least that makes it possible to continue mixing in my current environment and add the Atmos part on top of that. So that would mean buying reasonable small studio monitors and place according to the regulations, but trying out some compromises to keep the speaker count down, given that my room is probably too small to really reap the benefits of having a lot of speakers. So even though I'm not really sure how valid an approach this is, I really think it can be fun. I mean, at the least, I'm going to get some kind of experience on Atmos mixing. I will probably get a better understanding of the binaural mix down, which I think is kind of a crucial part of this, as most people won't be listening in an Atmos environment. They will have headphones or something, and they will be subjected to the binaural mix down. So I find that this will probably be a really cool learning experience, and I want to document it somehow, probably on the YouTube channel or my Instagram or something like that. And I wholeheartedly invite you to do the same, or to follow me, or to comment or something. I'm thinking that if there are more of us that try this, we will probably learn a lot faster, and we can probably help each other avoiding the same pitfalls. And also, me being a quite avid DIY guy in everything I do, I feel that even though I'm going to follow Colt Caparoon's Atmos transition video series with great interest, it might be cool to do kind of a parallel video series where the budget is much more limited, and basically see where we end up. What can we do with $1,000? Is it feasible to do an Atmos update for that kind of money? So stay tuned. I'm calling this Atmos Guerilla mixing. Cheers.